yourself over.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report from News Center 13.
Good evening, I'm Ann Ryder. We'll get back to LA law in just a moment, but long days of sleepless suspense are at an end tonight for one Indianapolis family. A husband and father has just touched down after escaping Kuwait. He's back with his family. David McAnally is live at Indianapolis International. David?
And Ibrahim is coming home here tonight, home to gate B2 at Indianapolis International. He is a U.S. citizen who has worked for a grocery store company in Kuwait for about 2 months now. He was recently transferred from Indianapolis to Kuwait, leaving his wife Mary and 2 children behind here in Indianapolis. We're getting some people coming off the flight now. When the Iraqis invaded Kuwait 2 weeks ago, Ibrahim was still in Kuwait City, tending to the grocery stores that he managed there. He was able to, shortly after that, earlier this week, make an escape across the Kuwaiti border into Saudi Arabia. It was a very difficult situation, we are told, where he and a British national essentially rammed the border crossing to get out of Kuwait. His wife and 2 children, a son and a daughter, ages 8 and 3, are here now. You can see the woman, the blonde woman, near the door, looking anxiously for her husband. This flight originated in New York by way of Chicago, and all indications are that he is on board after, again, a very harrowing, daring escape from Kuwait. He comes home to somewhat of a state of uncertainty. He was in the grocery store business, but the assets of that company have been seized by the Iraqi invaders. Also, his personal assets are in limbo in that country. So the family now faces some possible difficult financial times ahead. But they say in the last few weeks that their story has gotten out. They have gotten a lot of support from friends, from church groups, from other employees at businesses where the man's wife works, donations of money and goods, etc., that have helped keep them afloat. He says he told his wife over the phone the next thing he's got to do is get a resume together. So life should be soon returning to normal. I talked to Mrs. Abou-Jabin just a few minutes ago. She said her prime concern now was for the families of other Americans who are still in Kuwait and Iraq waiting for their families to come home. And of course, there are more than 3,000 Americans still believed trapped inside Iraq and Kuwait, not being called hostages, but not free to leave the country, at least anytime soon. In fact, you'll recall today that Saddam Hussein's government announced that Americans were, and all other foreign nationals, were required to congregate in specific hotels so that they could be accounted for by the Iraqi government. Still waiting here, a lot of folks on this aircraft, but for Mrs. Abou-Jabin, there is one face that she's looking for in this crowd. Once again, Abou-Jabin was able to get out of Iraq Monday, told his wife and a few friends over the phone that once his grocery store had sold out of goods, that he decided it was time to get out. Apparently, the Iraqis had sacked a couple of other grocery stores, set some alight. His was not damaged, but decided it was time to get out when they ran out of goods. And he and another friend, another man in a borrowed Jeep, raced across the desert and rammed through an Iraqi military checkpoint at the Kuwaiti border. Still waiting here. His wife says, and she said again, one of the most difficult things for her now, knowing that her husband is safe, is she feels a lot of pain and concern for others. There's the word, there he is, reaching for her children now, waving down the gangway toward the aircraft. To Ibrahim Abou-Jabin, a Palestinian who has lived in Kuwait, was raised there, lived in Egypt, came to the U.S. to study in Texas. There he is, grabbing his 3-year-old daughter. A burst of applause from the waiting room here at Indianapolis International. A loving hug, a crying wife, a grateful family. We'll see if we can talk to him. Mr. Abuljaman, what are your thoughts on return to the United States?
I'm happy I'm back. I'm sad for the people that are trapped over there. Got my parents over there, my family's over there. I don't know what's going to happen to them.
What do you say to Americans, to Hoosiers who still have loved ones in Iraq and in Kuwait?
I'm sorry, what?
What do you say to Americans who still have loved ones in Kuwait?
Pray for them. That's all I could say. There's nothing else I could do.
A simple prayer from Ibrahim Abuljaman, who made a daring escape Monday from the nation of Kuwait shortly after the Iraqi invasion. We'll bring you more details on this dramatic homecoming tonight at 11. Back to you, Anne.
Thank you for a wonderful story. Wonderful job, David. And we will see you in just a few minutes at 11 o'clock.
This has been a special report from News Center 13.